Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Student Spotlight series, where we showcase some of the work our past students have done. Today, it is our pleasure to have with us Victor Tse. So, Victor, can you tell us a bit about yourself, where you're from, what year of school you're in, and a little bit about the course you've taken with CCIR?
I'm Victor. I'm a high school junior from Chatham, New Jersey. I go to the Peddie School, which is a boarding school. As you can tell, I'm in my dorm right now. Over this past summer into this year, I've been working on a research project with CCIR, conducting research with you guys. That's what I've been doing this entire time.
So, just to be clear, this is part of the one-on-one mentorship program, right?
That's correct.
So, can you say a bit about how you became interested in the program?
Yeah, so I've always been, I'll start with my subject first.
Mhm.
Broadly, I wanted to be into regenerative medicine.
Mhm.
I've always been a big believer in helping others get back on their feet. I've seen this from a personal experience with my grandparents and elderly people I've been around my entire life. So I've always been into research, and I felt like CCIR and CCIR, when I was searching for research courses, I felt like this was the one that can advance my study the best.
Mhm. So, can you say a bit about how the mentorship was structured? Like, what did you learn? How did you develop your project? And I guess what was the project about?
Yeah, so as I said, I wanted to be in regenerative medicine. I was paired with Harvard Medical School mentor. His name is Dr. I, and it was a 14-week course, or 14-hour course. The first 6 hours were meant to learn all the material. He would just wanted to get me exposed to different parts of molecular biology and biology just in general. And at the end of the 6 weeks, we decided on a topic, and I was again mind blown with the molecular biology and regenerative medicine that the lecture that we had. And then those next 8 weeks, or 8 hours rather, we made an outline and an outline for the CC for my research paper, which is on sickle cell anemia, as well as after that we I've always been, even after our 14 hours have been up, I've been still working, I would say pretty diligently on my project, and still always asking him for feedback. And he's honestly been the best. Like, he's given me so much timely feedback, so much advice, and he's honestly been one of the best mentors in my entire life.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really glad to hear that you've had such a positive experience working with your mentor. Could you say a little bit more about what your project is? Like, what's the topic, and then I guess what the steps you took, to sort of, I guess, to get started writing, and then I guess maybe where you are now in the writing process.
Yeah, so in sickle cell anemia, the first thing that we did was an outline. So we had about 5 or 6 parts of my outline. The introduction, advancements, mechanisms, Casgevy, or sorry, the CRISPR applications, the therapeutic approaches, and advancements mechanisms. I actually just recently finished my first draft. So I had a spring break, so I was able to get a lot of that work done, and I was really happy to get that done because it's just been a long journey, just a lot of school, and when I had school off, I really just want to get back to it. So I have first draft finished. Submitted it to CCIR, and hopefully getting it published soon.
That's great. Yeah, I definitely feel like getting that first draft done is the hardest part with any kind of paper. So, what were the key insights? I guess yeah, I guess how did you frame your project? Like, did you have a hypothesis going in, and I guess what were your results?
Yeah, so I wanted to do a review article on sickle cell anemia, just trying to get an overview at first. So that I just looked up a lot of review articles on the internet, on some journals, and from that I was able to get my information to write my paper. On top of that, Dr. I showed me some figures and tables, especially using this website called BioRender to develop figures and insert them into my paper as well. So that's what I did really to get on, and yeah, he really guided me a lot through that process.
Mhm. So it's a literature review then, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yeah.
So I guess yeah, well, what was the result? I mean, I guess, what maybe were you looking for? What kinds of trends or problems were you trying to address in the literature? And I guess, what did you end up reaching in the end?
hmm So I just wanted to see because sickle cell anemia, just for some background, is a very prevalent disease in a lot of minorities, and I consider myself. I'm from U.S. I consider myself as an Asian American a minority in society. So I want to figure out other diseases or things that can hurt other minorities in the world. So this hurts people from African descent. People, this really is very prevalent in it's like Africa. So I saw the trends about they actually made a lot of progress in the past decade on sickle cell anemia.
Mhm.
There are a lot of new therapies. Just recently, gene therapies in the last couple of years have been approved by by the FDA to help patients that have sickle cell anemia. However, just it's just that it's just becoming way more prevalent in the world. I feel like because um, just some people just don't have like natural resources to live, and that just it's just harder in those areas. I feel like the minorities that they don't have, they're not, I would say, as privileged, and unfortunately, I feel like they have to suffer. So there are a lot more trends, but unfortunately, this disease is still getting a bit more prevalent with it as well.
Mhm. So what do you feel like the obstacles are in the way of, I guess, developing more effective treatments for sickle cell anemia?
Yeah, so I'll say there are really two things I would say that are in the way. It's the risks and the cost. So
Mhm.
before like these past like 10 years, I would say, would they sickle cell anemia was a lot of bone marrow transfusions. Now, bone marrow transfusions are very nice as a treatment, but at the same time, it could be very risky for the patient because transfusions, like you don't know what to expect with transfusions. Like you're kind of like taking like your blood out. It's like it's not the greatest thing in the world, and on top of that, it's like really expensive. Um, these treatments, especially hydroxia, and that was approved about like 30 years ago. So now we're trying to find like more cost effective, but also this cost effective treatments for that. And it's just hard. They're still in a tough spot, I would say, because as I said, most of these treatments were really just approved in my lifetime, which is really within the last like 10 years. I'm not 10 years old, obviously, but it's been approved in the last 10 years. So there just needs to be more study on it. I'm definitely very optimistic that this can get a lot better in the coming years, and especially after when I start working in my lifetime. But right now, I would say we're still in the early stages of benefits.
Mhm. Broadly speaking, do you think the path forward lies in making sort of existing treatment methods cheaper, or do you think that probably it's more likely that we'll have to discover an entirely new method of uh, treating sickle cell anemia?
To me, I feel like it's not the cost of the treatment. It's how prevalent the treatment is. Now I know that sounds weird because like how many people we can treat, which I know that sounds weird because you would think cost plays a big factor. I just feel like it's more of the accessibility.
Mhm.
I feel like that people have to these treatments more than anything else. And I know that cost will play a huge role in it, but I just feel like people who are able to access these treatments. I feel like that's the most important thing. Yes, what the new treatment would be great, but I feel like at the same time as humans, I feel like we're sometimes stuck in our ways,
Mhm.
and finding a new treatment like it's gonna be hard. It's hard to trust at times.
Mhm.
So I feel like we're on a great track right now. As I said, treatments like lenaglobin and Casgevy have been just approved in the last couple years, and like just in like my time in high school. So as I said, I feel like they just need more development and just being more accessible to the public.
Mhm. So it seems like accessibility, in some ways, at least in the United States, might be more of like a political issue or a healthcare reform issue.
Mhm.
Is that something that you've explored at all in your research?
Not yet, honestly. That's definitely something I want to expand my research on. So I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit into the future, but after I finish this, I want to take a little bit more of an interdisciplinary approach. I feel like you can't really, in life, you can't really look at everything from just one perspective. There's so many different perspectives that you can judge things by. So right now, I feel like I have the STEM approach, which is nice. It's a great starting point, I feel like. But for me, it's like, can I tie this to other periods in history? Can I tie this to other diseases? For example, like the Spanish influenza of 1918, or going back in US history, the 1793 yellow fever in Philadelphia. Can I tie those to other historical events and come up with a solution based on trends throughout not just American history, but world history as well, as this is really a very global issue, I feel like.
I know you said you were looking forward a bit, but I guess do you already have any sort of historical parallels in mind for sickle cell anemia, or I guess maybe, well, yeah, I'll leave it there. Do you have any historical parallels in mind for that?
To be honest, no, because this is to me just a one of a kind type disease. It's not, and also like the Spanish, as I mentioned, the two I'll mention, the Spanish influenza and especially the yellow fever, these were pretty contained in their respective areas. If I had to compare sickle cell mania, obviously not as many, I'm not trying to downplay this, but it wasn't as many deaths or people that have the symptoms as like COVID from 5 years ago, but or yeah, 5 years ago now. But I definitely feel like sickle cell anemia is getting a lot more prevalent, as I said, in these minority societies. So I had to say I would compare that to COVID.
Mhm.
I just feel like sickle cell anemia. There's so many different ways. I feel like one can attain it. But just like COVID, COVID, sometimes you're asymptomatic and people get it. But sickle cell anemia, you kind of have there's so many different symptoms that can lead you down that path, I feel like.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think this brings up another interesting question, right? I think that sometimes you see like differential health outcomes between, you know, different demographics because of purely political factors or purely economic factors. And then other times it seems like there's actually I guess there's a biological factor at work, right? Which is to say that some diseases are more prevalent among certain populations because those populations might have less access to treatment options or more exposure to I guess environments that might cause them to contract the disease, right? On the other
Mhm.
hand, though, there are some diseases that, for genetic reasons, certain populations are more predisposed to. Um, so the in both sort of cases, you get a different healthcare outcome between different demographics, but the cause seems different. Um, I suppose this is I haven't quite formulated this into a question, but I guess do you have any thoughts on that distinction, maybe?
The distinction of the
Yes.
health the genetics versus like kind of like the environment, I would say. Kind of. Is that
Or I
what
guess
you're
maybe the issue of maybe unequal or well, yeah, let's just say unequal healthcare outcomes between different demographics um, as a
Mhm.
result of, on the one hand, either political, social, or economic factors, or on the other hand, due to biological factors. In both cases, I think you have a kind of maybe arguably a kind of injustice, but on the other hand, how one addresses those problems seems different, right?
Yeah. Now, so sickle cell anemia is an autosomal recessive disease, which means this is genetics,
Hmm.
because you do get this from autosomal means that males and females can get this equally.
Hmm.
But I definitely do agree that I feel like, especially now in US, I feel like this is not, to me, not as taken seriously as it should have.
Hmm.
Now, I understand with the US, we have so much going on with the just Trump now raising the tariffs and just getting out of COVID in 2020, or really 21, 22.
Hmm.
So I understand like the US, to them, they feel like they have other issues, but and I feel like in their mind, they're trying to like appeal to the masses, which
Hmm.
is like helping the most people, and sickle cell anemia is affects minorities,
Hmm.
like African people of African descent. So I feel like that's kind of like a conflict of interest
Hmm.
for the government. So I definitely do feel it is definitely political, which is why I want to take that perspective as well, not just from a biological perspective with the science and the mutation subject the frame shift mutate or point mutation,
Hmm.
and how, the biological way, but also the political way as well, as I said, because I feel like with a disease, I feel like it could be as complex as this. You can't just only look at it one way.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that that combination seems important to me because it seems like in any area where it's a matter of the distribution of resources, um, you end up having it ends up becoming a political issue, right?
Mhm.
So it seems like healthcare or medicine can't really be thought of as simply like a scientific discipline because the actual reality of treatment is always going to be somehow political. Uh,
Mhm.
so having said that, I mean, you've said a little bit more. You've already said a little bit about this, but I wondered if you had any more thoughts about what maybe next steps are for you. Narrowly, maybe like if you were going to continue researching sickle cell anemia, what do you think the next steps would be? And then maybe more broadly, if you have any other kind of thoughts about what next steps for you would be study wise.
Yeah, so I definitely would. I actually definitely have in my first draft. I said I feel like I had a pretty solid first draft, but I feel like when people read their final copy, they've produced their final copy. They don't want to read their first draft because their first draft is so much worse than their final copy. So one thing I really want to get into is the very specific studies. I feel like for a lot of my treatments, I had a lot of just overview, just telling the viewers what the treatment is, but
Mm-hmm.
not really providing specific data. Well, that's
Mm-hmm.
something I feel like on the biological side because data is so important, not just in biology, rather, it's just important in life in general. These days, everything's on the computer. Everyone's looking at charts and graphs because let's be honest, everyone would rather read charts and graphs than 1,000 words. So
Yeah.
I want to include more studies and charts on this to make it more make this my study a little bit more profound than just words.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said before, on the political or I guess governmental side, I feel like about the disparity or the injustice in society. I feel like this is just another example of a disease that it should be taken more into consideration. So what I really want to do is that I'm trying to raise awareness for this issue. I feel like that's like the first step. I feel like in anything, it's like you just need people or individuals to not alliance with, but to group and team up together to make this issue more well known. I feel like that's the first step. I feel in society. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like it is a pretty common disease, but I feel like since it doesn't lead to death, like it's not really a deadly disease. It's just a disease that is like just causes a lot of what is called a vascular crisis, which is just restricting blood flow because this is all about affects your red blood cell sickle cell anemia.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like since this doesn't lead to death, people in general won't view this as much as like cancer and like lung cancer and other diseases. Also, I feel like, as I said, it's genetics
Mm-hmm.
and not like cancer. It could be caused by like smoking, but this it's not. It's as I said, it's kind of like God given to you.
Mm-hmm.
So as I said, I feel like the biggest thing is just to raise awareness for the issue. Like for example, like I feel like some people are just like I believe like I don't know if it's a bad example, but some people are just born with breast cancer. But we have like breast cancer awareness month in October in the so I kind of want to do the same thing for sickle cell anemia, but I remember, but as I said, like I know in February, I know I'm jumping around, but in February we do Black History Month in the U.S. and especially that month we celebrate a lot of heritage from there, but it's all the time. It's not sometimes, it's always. I feel like we gotta keep the
Mm-hmm.
same energy. We can't just dedicate just like a specific time to help sickle cell anemia patients. It should be always.
Yeah. I mean, in the end, at the end of the day, there are only so many months in the year, right? That you can.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think the most extreme example of the power of awareness or a sense of urgency is probably COVID, right? I mean, the amount that the medical community accomplished, and that I suppose the government accomplished when it came to developing a vaccine and rolling it out for COVID is extraordinary. And I guess that just goes to show that like when an issue is really deemed urgent and enough people really care, extraordinary things can happen. But sometimes it takes extreme circumstances to
Mhm.
generate that sense of urgency in the medical and political community.
Yeah, I just feel like for people in here, I just feel like this disease isn't as urgent enough. I feel like at times like people just know that sickle cell anemia, not because like they know people who have it, they just know it for like their AP bio class.
Right, right. Yeah.
But not for like, oh wow, a lot of people have that disease
Hmm.
or disorder. But I feel like when people know COVID, they know COVID because, oh, we have a friend who has it. Or for me, it's like, oh, the school shut down for like 3 months, or yeah, really like a year. Technically, I was hybrid, so they know COVID. They don't know COVID for like the as much for like the, oh, it's just another virus out there. It's like not
Right.
another like virus with vaccines. Like we use COVID, like teachers now use COVID to explain viruses now and how vaccines are made. I feel like because for us students, it's still very fresh in our minds. I think we all can agree COVID changed everything a lot
Yeah,
for
definitely.
everyone. And I feel like until we get to that circumstance, which I don't want it to get to those dire circumstances. I feel like as I said, I want to raise awareness to this now, and hopefully sickle cell anemia is more something that people can dive deeper into and
Mhm.
not like AP bio, just a example of a mutation that can the missense mutation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that seems like a genuinely worthy cause. So just to sort of shift things back to, I guess, the program itself, I wondered also if you had any thoughts on how the program has prepared you or empowered you to do research in the future.
Yeah, so I'll be honest, when I saw the 14-hour schedule with Dr. I was extremely nervous to write the paper because I've never done this before in my life. I love researching. I've loved looking at data, but I never had any guidance.
Hmm.
So to me, like publishing something that's gonna be on the internet, people are gonna read this stuff. I was really I was really nervous to see that.
Hmm.
And but when he helped me like guide through the steps, the outline, the references, especially, he told me about putting citing references so much. I can't even count how many times he told me. They definitely prepared me well, not just for this finishing up sickle cell anemia, but definitely any other program I have. So I definitely say this did a really, really good job. Definitely a lot better than I expected for sure.
Yeah, I definitely think that having someone who can actually guide you, that you can have a discussion with, is, I mean, incredibly important for learning any kind of complex task. Uh, there's really only so much you can sort of learn simply from reading. Like I think having direct guidance is essential. Um,
Yeah. I just want to add lastly, so when Dr. I and I first met, it was over the summer. So as I was extremely nervous, up to a degree, even a little skeptical at times. And I remember he was talking to me about like, I'm so close to my students afterwards. Like I can always like have a coffee with you. Actually, I don't like coffee, but we can always have a drink when I go up to Boston where he is. And I don't know why. I'm always so skeptical about that type of things. I always just feel like it's just like showmanship enough to a degree. I just find it at times to be a bit cheesy. So I'm always so pessimistic about these things. For anyone who's watching this right now, he definitely meant what he said. I honestly treat him as a great mentor and a great friend. And even when our 14 hours in like October are up, I still text him my updates and he responds like very quickly and he gives me such valuable feedback no matter even if it's not even the 14 hours, just a quick email and saying hi. So I really appreciate all that he's done for me.
yeah, I mean, he sounds like he was a great mentor, and I think that when teachers say things like that, maybe sometimes it's like just performative, but
Sometimes I feel like, yeah, but he's definitely not. He definitely meant what he said for sure.
yeah, I definitely think there are a lot of teachers that really do care and put a lot
Yeah.
of time and effort into staying in touch or helping out former students. So yeah, also I wondered if you would have any advice for someone who is going to start a similar program, or if maybe if there's something that you wish that you had known earlier before starting the program.
Um, Something I wish. something maybe some advice I would give to my former self, I would say to any student. One thing I would definitely mention is if you're on a roll with your project, you should just keep going. As I said, I love working on this project, but with school and everything, with AP's junior year, I just really got carried away a lot of the time. And sometimes when I get home for breaks, all I just want to do is I'm so tired. I just want to sleep and not do anything.
Hmm.
But when you love something so much, you definitely want to invest a lot of time in it. And I'm sure a lot of people like myself are so busy with high school and applying for college, but you definitely want to start early on these type of things. Like I've been interested in this, I would say for like 3, 4 years now.
Hmm.
And as I said, you just put yourself out there. That's actually there. Put yourself out there and to see what the world gives you. I feel like I know that's so cliche, but it really is true. Just put yourself out there, and someone will come and guide you and will lead you to great things.
Yeah, I think those are both really good pieces of advice. And I definitely think it's often underrated how much courage is sort of a virtue or a necessary virtue for learning. Like if you want to learn, you have to be, brave enough to begin and to seek help. And it's honestly not easy a lot of the time. Yeah. Do you have any other final thoughts that you'd like to share?
Um, no, not really. I just want to say thank you for having me on. It was a great pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, likewise. I really enjoyed hearing about your project and about your experience. Yeah, that's all I've got for you. Thank you so much for your time and good luck with publishing your paper and continuing with your research.
I appreciate it so much. Thank you again.